tonight we have from the he's the creator of MustacheParlour.com. He's part of he's basically the beard maker to the stars. That's what all the kids say.
Don't they burn up though?
I don't know. We'll have to find out how Ron Wolek makes these beers that don't get burned up when they touch stars, because stars are hot. But yeah, you've seen the Wolek's famous beard championships down there in Key West, and upcoming we have the holiday beard contest that's online, and a subcategory, the All-American Santa Claus contest. This dude's always doing stuff. Let's just dive into this and figure out who he is. Mr. Ron.
He's Ron.
How you doing?
Good. How are you guys tonight?
We're doing fantastic. Better now that you're here.
Yeah. Okay, the big burning question everyone has. Which one is Ron?
Oh,
See, notice how they both don't, neither of them jump at that one.
They don't know who Ron is.
Well, we have the same initials but different middle names. So
you're not a senior and a junior?
Not technically, no.
Not technically.
Technically, they're not.
So what you
I'm
should
Ron
do,
number 2.
So number 2, you should change your middle name to his middle name, and then you could be the first, and then make him the junior, and then we just throw everybody off.
Aaron, stop! You're making it way too confusing now.
I don't know. I liked it. It was like this.
I'd be glad to be a kid again.
Yeah. Absolutely.
See, Aaron was doing this mantra that he lives by. If you can imagine it, you can create it.
Yeah, this is what I live by. I have to make sure that they put this in every hotel room that I'm going to stay in. It's a long process, but every hotel room I stay in, this has to be surgically implanted on every wall.
What you imagine, you create.
But it's a good.
But I mean, not to be joking around, but that statement is really true. I mean, with what you guys have done and accomplished over your lifetimes, I mean, you guys imagined something and you guys created it. Now, that is the true epitome of the American dream right there, right?
Yeah, right.
It's true. That's what it's all about.
So tell us what it is all about.
Well, speaking of that part, we're a third generation American hairstylist. So, where do you want me to start? Just a little bit about me, I guess.
Yes. Well, start from the beginning. Like past birth and school and stuff like.
We don't.
Well, that actually is a good way to start, because me and Aaron have a friend in common that starts at the beginning. I was born in Syracuse, New York. That's where my family's business was. And my grandfather had a mustache club in the early 40s and early 50s. Late 40s, early 50s,
He already had
a little bit in the middle of the 40s.
And he already had a beard club.
Yes, it was Mustache Beard Club, and it was popular enough that people reported about it in the newspaper in Syracuse. So that's how we know most of the information about it. But my mom got a really cool job down at Disney World for being a hair and makeup artist, and she rose through the ranks and became a designer and department head. And I was kind of her guinea pig, and I loved it too. Talk about imagining and created. My dream was to become an animator at Disney World, but when I graduated high school, Toy Story 2 was already on its way out, so you couldn't really be a traditional artist too much anymore in animation. I think Disney actually had a short period where they shut down traditional animation, and Princess and the Frog, I think, was the last one. And what you're looking at right now is my grandfather's bar back in the 50s, and that article is about the Mustache Club.
Hank's Mustache Club.
I needed a job where I could be creative and talk to people. I originally signed up to be a graphic designer and a web person, and went to college for that. But computers didn't talk back to you in those days. Now if maybe with Siri is around, I probably would have stuck with it. So I became a hair and makeup artist, and actually I loved it, and I was proud to take on what my mom and my grandmother and my grandfather started. Lived out in Los Angeles and worked with movie stars, and always had a focus on beards and mustaches. and that's led me to create Santa Claus beards and mustaches. So I started MustacheParlour.com, which is one of the world's largest place for faux or fake beards and mustaches in the world. We do a lot of custom work, and particularly famous for Santa Claus beards, and also a lot of other things. For example, we worked on Santa Stole My Dog, which is a really unique film that stars Ronald Reagan's last dog. So Ronald Reagan's last dog turned out to be a brilliant actor. He's got about 8 or 10 films, and one of them is Santa Stole My Dog, and which stars Ed Asner. And I was fortunate enough to work with him. I made one of his last Santa Claus beards. Ed Asner had a whole side career where he did a lot of Santa Claus movies, including Elf, and they actually put him into the Santa Claus Hall of Fame based on his Santa Claus performances.
Yeah, I totally forgot that he actually played Santa Claus in Elf until you just said that. I was just like, oh, that's right. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but yeah.
Yeah, actually, I got his beard right behind me if you want to see it.
Absolutely.
Oh my, serious, Clark?
Dad, would you pass me the white box?
So
when you work on films and TV shows, you make always a double. This was never used, but I made it for Mr. Asner.
what movie would this have been for?
Santa Stole My Dog,
So this
which is a
backup
great
beard.
movie. Dog accidentally gets into Santa Claus's bag of presents. He takes him back to the North Pole. Family's got to find him, and they're very upset with Santa Claus because he won't answer their letters or something like that. And they really want their dog back. But it turns out there's a nice environmental message at the end that it saves the world in the North Pole. So fortunately, Santa stole a dog that could save the world. And this is actually made out of yak hair, which is very nice source for replicating whiskers. The texture is a little bit more coarse, like a real whisker. And it's the favorite for film and television beard and makeup people like myself. And Santa Claus is too. It's a very popular source of hair for that.
So why would you not just use regular head hair? What's the difference between the two?
Well, like for instance, oops. This one is human hair, and you see the density is a little sparse. So I like human hair sometimes too, but the texture of the hair is a lot like what you would have when you grow on your head.
Mm-hmm.
And what is on your face never usually matches what's on the top of your head. But it is good for, like, this is obviously some kind of bluesy, hobo guy. And for facial hair, like for sideburns, sometimes I'll use it, human hair, because it's not as thick and dense. And when you're making hair pieces, sometimes less is more for it to be believable. But for a big white Santa Claus beard, like especially American style, yak is the most popular, particularly because there's a national problem where adults and children like to pull on Santa Claus beards.
It's that gosh darn movie. That movie ruined it for everyone.
That movie ruined everything.
So the best repellent of Santa Claus beard pullers is a disgusting beard made out of hair from the back of a yak.
Oh, I was going to say
as soon as someone comes in contact with yak hair, they immediately get repulsed and do not pull on your beard.
Yeah, but what about the person wearing it?
Exactly what I was about to ask. What about the person wearing it? Are they just repulsive themselves the whole time?
I started out not using yak hair because it repulsed me styling it. It's not my favorite.
but then you had to get over it.
Yes. And so they started requesting it. And that's why I came to understand why they like it. I guess the fear of having your beard pulled is overcomes the uncomfortable smell of yak hair on your face.
So one of our listeners wants to know, how do you guys attach the hair to the face?
Oh, there's a couple different ways. The most uncomfortable way is to use spirit gum or any kind of adhesive meant for hair pieces. There's a silicone. There's a spirit gum is like a tree sap and medical adhesive, and it will. A lot of people like it because once it's attached to your face, it moves like a real beard. It feels like it's part of you.
Wow.
There's also two-way tape. It's called beard tape. That is more comfortable. That's what I recommend my clients to use because they don't have to go through a lot of the cleaning of the spirit gum off your face and your hairpiece. It's kind of uncomfortable. For film and television, though, that's what we do because we never want it to fall off when the camera's on.
So that's probably kind of like toupee tape.
Correct. It's the same kind, but you don't want to use toupee tape because toupees are meant to stay on your scalp, like on a roller coaster or something. Your scalp is a lot more tougher part of your epidermis, which is a very fancy scientific word I learned in cosmetology school for your skin. And the skin on your chin is a lot more delicate. You don't really want to pull on it because you could advance the aging of your wrinkles and droopy jowls.
That's what Aaron's problem is. He pulls on his chin all the time. He's got droopy jowls.
I've got droopy jowls because I always pull on my chin.
Yeah.
Well, I know a lot of Whiskerinas.
However, the beard tape also makes great boob tape, so you could give yourself a facelift that way too.
Oh my!
On my boobs?
Yeah.
What? Well, I know a lot of Whiskerinas that use that toupee tape, and it seems to work pretty well.
On their boobs?
Yeah.
No, on their facial hair, but maybe their boobs too. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, they make a lot of varieties for it. People call it toupee tape, kind of like how we call cotton swabs Q-tips. Just make sure you don't get the one that's supposed to go on your scalp.
Yeah, just like
I never use the Q-tips that are supposed to go on my scalp. I was never used those.
Just like I said, chapstick earlier. Not chapstick.
Well, it's lip balm.
Lip balm.
Lip balm. All the balms.
Another way that you can wear the beard is with an elastic strap, but commonly you would wear a wig over it to hide the strap. Or if you have long hair, you can use your hair to cover the strap.
So would they even do that strappy thing in like a movie?
Yeah. A lot of times for theater, it's just more comfortable.
Yeah, and it's easy to take on and off, probably. A lot easier than having to deal with spirit gum or toupee tape or double-sided tape. You can just throw it on, throw a wig on or a hat, and you could carry a beard around in your purse if you wanted to, and you just throw it on. Yep. Yeah, to me, sometimes it moves a little bit more natural, and you can pull it tight against your skin so it looks it actually is very very conceivable that you would have a beard and not a strap. But the mustaches, though, I think you really need some type of adhesive to really keep it on because there's so much movement on the top of your upper lip. And but a lot of people use the toupee tape on their mustache too and are very happy with it and don't have a lot of problems. So you have to really consider how long you're going to be in front of the public for the situation and what kind of adhesive you want, So we've had Christine Hackman on here a few times. She's a good friend of the show. Do you all have y'all ever interacted very much? It seems like y'all are kind of in the same industry of making facial hair for the stars and whatnot.
Yes, we are colleagues, and the men and women in Vancouver in the hair and makeup industry are top notch. Canada really has phenomenal training for hair and makeup artists. They have. I think that Christine teaches at one of the top film schools in the country, which is also in Vancouver. My mother herself, actually, she studied in Toronto, Canada, under a school that became very famous that was later bought by a gentleman named Martin Parsons, who is an incredible hair and makeup artist, and I trained with him too. The attention to detail that they have is just incredible, and Christine's one of the most creative hair and makeup artists I've ever gotten a chance to really get to know, and through the Vancouver Facial Hair Club is where I met her, and MustacheParlour.com.
There you go.
That's how they called MustacheParlour.com to find out if it was a real place. I happened to be on a movie set that day in the middle of a swamp in Florida, and that is how it all started.
That's it. That's how y'all
conversation over the phone in a swamp.
Easy. And then, so we were talking about this before the show. You and I've never really interacted, but our circles are close. And Christine Hackman messaged you one day and said, "Hey, if you want to do this beer competition stuff a little bit more, reach out to this Aaron guy. He knows a little bit about it." And I was with Christine Hackman in Canada in her car, and then you texted me. It's like, it's just
yeah,
crazy.
that was kind of cosmic. And she had sent me that message maybe a month or 5 or 6 weeks prior to that.
And so you're like, this is the perfect time that I need to text him. He's, he lives in South Carolina, but yet he's in Canada in Christine Hackman's backseat. And she was taking me to get donuts. So I said something to her earlier about that. I was like, so we went to your studio today and you had these cool signs up and it says, "Welcome Talking Beards." And it says, "Welcome Talking Beards" in French, I think. And I sent her those pictures. I was like, well, look what Ron did for me when we came to his place. You didn't make signs for us, but then she quickly reminded me that she bought me a mass amount of donuts. So I think, I don't know what's better, a cool sign or donuts. It was kind of a toss up there, but she didn't make us signs like you did. And we appreciate your signs.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. We wanted to make you feel welcome. You're one of the first guests at the real mustacheparlor.com. This is Captain Ron Wolek's headquarters here. This show's very first peek to get into seeing what all this is all about.
It was awesome. It was a cool tour today for sure.
Honest to goodness, like I feel like just this little bit that we've already just touched upon, which I know unfortunately we don't have the amount of time and resources to really go into like everything that you guys have done, because I'm sure there's like tremendous amounts of stories of different people that you've worked with, and I'm sure there's like even funny stories about how there was a mustache or a beard fail during some film shoot that became some big funny thing, or I'm sure there's 1,000 stories that we could get into, and I would love to at some point to get you guys back on here and maybe just do a straight up podcast episode with you and talk about the whole industry in itself, because I think there's so much in what you guys are doing that's just extremely fascinating. And the more you're talking, it's like, all right, I just want to keep talking about it, but I know we are here
about these online beard competitions.
Oh, yeah, the concept.